Okay, so just a warning, this is going to be a heavy topic. However, if you're a parent, a grandparent, or a guardian, it's one that I highly recommend you watch and you take to heart. It's not an easy topic, but April is National Child Abuse Awareness Month, and this is a topic that is close to me for a number of reasons. First and foremost, I'm a parent, but secondly, I am a survivor of child sexual abuse. I want to talk about opening up the conversation to your children about staying safe whenever it comes to the topic of sexual abuse, and hopefully bring to light some things that you may or may not have thought about. First and foremost, statistically, 1 out of every 3 girls and 1 out of every 6 boys will be a victim of sexual abuse before they turn 18 years old. Now this is just based on the numbers that are actually reported and admitted. They could be far higher than that. And one statistic that a lot of people have no idea about is that roughly 90% of all abusers are people that have actually developed a relationship with a child, and that the child developed a relationship with, meaning that the child trusts and many times loves this person. There's someone that is involved with that child's life, whether it be a family member or a close family friend or somebody they know from church or some other civic organization or some other environment like that. Roughly 60% of abusers are direct family members to these children. So we talk and we preach so much about stranger danger, but however, the real threat many times are those that are closest to us. So this matters in the way that we approach the topic with our children, and I see that there are people that tend to come from a couple of different camps. Number one, whenever we talk about, to our kids, I see people say, hey, that you can always tell me anything, because if anyone ever did anything to you, ooh, I would just kill them, oh, I would hurt them. But the problem is, whenever you look at statistically who's hurting these children, it's people that have developed a relationship with the child. It's people that many times the child cares about. So if you are saying, if anybody ever hurts you, I will kill them, or I will make sure that they will go to jail to that child, you're sending the message, well, I can't tell because I care about this person. Even though I know that what this person is doing to me is wrong, I can't tell because I care about them and I don't want them to get in trouble, or I don't want to be taken away from them. We have to understand that. So we have to change the way that we communicate to children. And then another thing that I tend to find happens is that there are typically 2 types of people. There are people that have either been abused or people that haven't been abused. And it's an interesting dynamic that takes place, like for instance in my own family with my wife and I. My wife, fortunate enough, she's never been exposed to abuse. So whenever we approach the topic of, hey, we need to talk to our kids about this, for her, she knows it's important and she knows that we need to have the conversation. However, there's not a true sense of urgency there, because it's difficult for someone that has never been through that to truly grasp and understand the evil that can take place against a child. And that's what it is, it's evil. And again, don't get me wrong, I have no doubt that there are parents that are great parents that have never experienced this and that do a great job parenting their children. However, it is different for a parent that has gone through this themselves, and the urgency that they feel to impart this to their children to keep their children safe. But then the flip side is, you take someone like me, that I was a victim as a child, and whenever it's my worst fear to have the thought that my child would ever experience what I experienced. So I have an overwhelming sense of urgency to impart to my child the things that they need to know to avoid being a victim, and to do it in a way that is effective to them and that doesn't overwhelm them and that makes them feel comfortable with speaking to me. But something very personal begins to happen inside of me. It makes it hard for me to approach the topic, because it brings up emotion and pain inside of me that becomes very uncomfortable and very difficult. So then you have these 2 camps that are battling each other. You have the one parent that doesn't really have that overwhelming sense of urgency, and then you have another parent that may have this crippling sense of urgency, and a lot of times the conversation doesn't take place. but we have to have the conversation. So I wanted to tell you about an option, okay? If you're in these camps, if you've said, man, I know I really need to talk to my kids about this, but it's uncomfortable and I don't really know how to approach it. This is our option. This is what we did, okay? Because this is where we actually came from. This is a book. It's entitled Some Secrets Should Never Be Kept. And I think this book was actually, we were made aware of it through a speaker that came to our church. I have no affiliations with them or anything like that. However, it was something that we bought and we read through it ourselves first to look at it and see if it was going to be a good option. But basically what it is it takes a great approach on the subject that you can read and you can talk to your children, and it puts it in a light that lets your children know that even sometimes there are people that care about them that may do things to them that are harming them, and lets them know that there are approaches that these abusers are going to take, and tell them that these are secrets that can never be told, but they're secrets that must be told. It's a really gentle way to start the conversation, and if you're in either of those camps that I talked about, such as myself or my wife, it was a great middle ground for us to be able to approach the conversation. So I want to recommend it, because most of all, you've got to find a way to have that conversation. It's not easy, but your child's life depends on it. And I mean that, because I don't mean that your child's not going to survive, but I mean if you fail them because you don't have this conversation, that is something that they will carry with them forever. Be their protector. Be their protector, whether it be through something like this or whether it be through just simple conversation. I provided the link for this book in the description, or you can hit the Shop Now button and it'll take you directly there. But definitely check it out. Let me know what you think. Tell me what your thoughts are in the comments below. Make sure like, subscribe, and share. See you next time.